and I was having trouble connecting to the Wi-Fi for some reason, but the Wi-Fi is working. So I rebooted it, and maybe we got it. Pray that we don't get any more disconnects from the internet during the broadcast, please. Okay, so what we're going to cover today is some surprises in Bible prophecy the Lord showed me. Especially Iran, Saudi Arabia, and these are going to be surprises. And we'll go through those scriptures. I'm going to explain what Satan's doing, why it's not working, what Jehovah is doing more importantly, and I'm going to explain all the mistakes Biden is making, and you're going to see what Biden gets into with Saudi Arabia and Bible prophecy. It's going to shock you. It shocked me. And Saudi Arabia is pulling away from America. They didn't renew their defense pact with America that expired June 9. And they're trading oil in non-US dollars now. So it's coming to pass. Today is the 13th of June, Thursday, 9:54. We're going to be way over 100 degrees today, which is not encouraging. But I'll show you in the scriptures today that God's going to, protect us from the bad weather once we get redemption. So I'm going to jump into the live stream if it's up yet, and make sure we got sound and picture, because I don't know. It sure appears that we do. We got sound and picture. I'm going to put a couple of posts up in the chat real quick while we wait for people to come in, which isn't going to take a long time. Almost done, be another few seconds, and then we'll get started. If any of you want to post in the chat, feel free. I've got my posts up. Okay, being a Bible-believing site, I'm going to do some praise. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 Okay, so let me get started here, and I'll find my list of Biden's mistakes, which I put up this morning or last night. I don't remember, last night I think. Maybe this morning, I'll find it. We're still getting pelted by rockets and missiles from the Hezbollah in Lebanon, but it seemed to have cut down some. Apparently they were trying to do a retaliation against us for doing a targeted assassination of one of their big shots in Hezbollah. Okay. So what's going wrong for Biden? Here we go. I call this Biden's woes. The Houthis are attacking his warships repeatedly and steadily in the Red Sea, plus merchant marine vessels. So he can't stop it, and he's operating, as weak America. The Houthis rejected his ceasefire, which he even got the UN Security Council to approve. Biden's son was found guilty of gun-related felonies. 2 of Trump's federal cases were postponed, probably until after the election. Trump, I believe, went to the high courts and said, I'm running for president, and da. So they postponed it. The New York Supreme Court sent letters to the prosecution and the defense that represented Trump, where he got found guilty of 34 felonies, and said that there could be jury improprieties and they're investigating. Now, if they sent the letter out, it appears that there were such things in the eyes of the New York Supreme Court, but before they make a big decision like this to vacate the judgment and tell the prosecutor he has to start all over again or forget about it, it appears that the judge felt that there was a high likelihood this was real, but to actually render the decision he needs to have pretty strong proof, and they're doing an investigation. So it would sound heavily to me that Trump's going to walk away from those cases. They're not, vacate the judgment means it's going to be like it never happened, like it's non-existent. So he's no longer a felon, and then the prosecution has to retry the case or just forget about it. Trump, if the prosecution does nothing, so will Trump. If the prosecution refiles the case, Trump will appeal, file a motion with the judge to recuse himself, number one, because of the improprieties that he shouldn't have let happen, and number two, to change the venue of the case to probably upstate New York, which is going to be redneck, far away from New York City, probably over 100 miles, maybe 250. They did something like this with Dutch Schultz's case. They made a movie about it. If the judge doesn't recuse himself after this, Trump will file an appeal on that too. So in case he loses his change of venue, he'll have a different judge. Most of this stuff is going to drag on, for a while, and prophetically there's not much time left, but they don't know that. Okay, Russian naval vessels are near Cuba and Florida. It's right now what's called a warship, a frigate, and a submarine. Both have missile launch capability, and near Florida and Cuba they were launching missiles, hypersonic they say, to test fire them. And people in Florida supposedly were hearing the explosions, and people saw the Russian submarine surface, and there was, I think, pictures of it. I'm not sure about that, but they, I think they got the pictures after it surfaced and it was level on the water, and that rattled people. I'm reasonably certain that people saw this from boats, not from the shore. But on the shore, apparently they heard it. Illegal alien problem. Now that's a really bad problem, and the submarine and the frigate of Russia are going to stay in Cuba for 5 days, starting Wednesday. Today's Thursday. So that's not sitting well with Americans. Also, there were confrontations between American ships and Russian ships, not shooting or anything, but they were following them around. And this is a repeat, it looks like, of the 1962 Cuban Missile Crisis. I was saying it was a 59, it wasn't 59, that was the revolution when Castro took over. The crisis was in '62, so I have to stand corrected. Sorry about that. Forgive me. The illegal alien problem, as they call it, where they cross the border illegally and then file for amnesty and become legal, has many states mad at Biden. He recently said he closed the border, but Governor Abbott and others are saying, Governor Abbott of Texas and others are saying that it did no effect. Whatever he did, there has no effect. It wasn't a constructive measure. People are not happy about that. People are still entering without visas, in other words, illegally, and then filing for amnesty or not filing is up to them. Netanyahu does not listen to Biden all the time. Sometimes yes, and sometimes no. Biden was apparently backing Gantz, who pulled out of Netanyahu's war cabinet, along with another guy that's not that important of a player. And after the hostage rescues, they ran the polls, and it showed that if Gantz files a vote of no confidence against Netanyahu, that Netanyahu would survive it and remain prime minister. So basically, Biden bet on the wrong horse. And it's also general knowledge that Biden is suffering from some conditions, senility, dementia, whatever. Can't find his way off the stage, stumbles, talks about things out of context, completely out of context. Biden, Trump wants Biden to take a cognitive test and a drug test, and to date, Biden hasn't done it, or I haven't heard him comment on it. And they have a debate, I think, on the 27th or 29th of June, which is coming up pretty close, and I don't know what Biden intends to do about it. The way it's going now, I would, in my opinion, think that a few hours before the debate, Biden may be called away on an urgent matter and unable to attend the debate, and there'll be talk of rescheduling it, and the cows can come home before they rescheduled it. That's what I'm thinking is going to happen. Excuse me. Yeah. All right, I'll go out now. Okay, bye. Bye. I gotta go out there. My wife's getting a delivery and she's downtown, so I gotta go. It'll be a minute or two. This is the problem. Usually you work for the delivery people. They don't work for you. It's insane. I'll be right back. Sorry about this. This is Israel. Boy, it's hot out there. Sorry about that. Oh. So, back to Biden. So when we look at all the problems Biden has, do you think it might just be time for us to get to with a point in America where there's ruler against ruler? I do. It's crazy. Everything this guy does is wrong. Wait till we get to the Bible prophecies. Let's talk about what Satan is doing. No, Yafa, no. Satan has created a category of his own chosen people. Right now. He's worked on this for hundreds of years. Now, these are the people that are trying to forward Satan's attempts to stop Bible prophecy from being fulfilled. Specifically, God, Jehovah, raising up Israel to serve him and be the head of the world, the head of the nations. Which means Satan is no longer in control of the nations of the world. And that happens at the end of the age. Satan's no longer in control, and we're extremely close to that, days or perhaps a few weeks. So, these are the people, the radical Muslims, and you see them emigrating into Europe and America in large quantities, and Europe and America has been treating them as privileged people. In Europe, they're throwing native-born citizens out of their houses to make room for these illegals. Well, these migrants. They're not illegal, they're migrants. Seeking asylum. And they give them welfare and they get treated better than the regular people, and they commit crimes, rapes and stuff like that, and precious little ever happens to them. Violence. And America just opened up the door and let them swarm in the millions. There's no other category of people. Muslims are not a race, it's a religion. There's no other category of people that are interested in, killing Israel. Not even all the Muslims are. Not interested in killing Israel and, taking the land back and stuff like that. Satan needs groups of people, or a group of people that want to live and dominate Jerusalem and Israel and worship him. So that's why he's raised up the Muslims. And what you see is the nations in the world don't want to go against these Muslim terrorist states. The ones that are active right now are Yemen, Gaza, Lebanon, to some extent in Syria and Iraq, Iran. Turkey is beginning to look like it's going to emerge, and Egypt has been operating behind the scenes by feeding or allowing Gaza to bring weapons and tunnel materials through Egypt for years. Qatar is another one, who are housing the actual real leaders of Hamas in five-star hotels in Qatar. And pretty much all the nations of the world have been giving financial assistance to Gaza for many years, enabling them to build up this big network of terror and a 300-mile labyrinth of tunnels. The biggest terror tunnel network anywhere in the world, they say. Now, I'm not sure how many tunnels Yemen has and Lebanon has and Iraq and other countries, but they say that it's the biggest in Gaza, but we don't know how big they are in these other countries yet. So it's the biggest we know about. Okay, so the UN has close to 100 countries, 90-something countries. It was 93 and it went up by 4 or 5, so it's about 98 countries, something like that, 97, 98, 99, that recognize Palestine as a state. That means the land of Israel, in their opinion, should be a Muslim state. Okay? The ICJ, International Court of Justice, has found Gallant, the defense minister, and Netanyahu to be guilty of war crimes or genocide or something like that, and have arrest warrants out for them. The UN, the head of the UN is saying that Israel is committing genocide and that there's starvation in Gaza. The ones that are interfering with the humanitarian aid going into Gaza is Hamas, not Israel. Hamas steals the food, hits and shoots the people of Gaza trying to get the food off the trucks before it arrives at a destination. And then they sell it back to the Gazan populace at high prices. We found millions of dollars worth of foreign currency, dollars and I think euros and shekels, hidden in stashes in the tunnels in Gaza and in the West Bank, millions of dollars. The heads of Hamas are supposed to be richer than Trump. They're well paid. Yet the Gazan populace is very poor. We just knocked out a critical tunnel that was used from Rafah to Egypt, and we're told that this was being used to smuggle money from the various Muslim states and other nations into Gaza. Now, The other day, Blinken was here visiting Mahmoud Abbas at the Palestinian Authority in the West Bank in Ramallah, the Palestinian Authority capital. And he just gave him $400 million. This guy runs the Slave for Pay program, where he gives money to the surviving families of terrorists that get killed in cold blood executions of Israeli children, women, men, police, soldiers, and so forth. And if the terrorists, they give them like $3,200 a month, which is like $10,000 or $12,000 a month in America. And if they go to jail, he gives them the same amount of money the whole time the people are in jail. And Blinken has no problem blatantly and openly funding this by giving them all this money. Never specifies that it cannot be used for the Slave for Pay program. Never tells them that we can't give you any money if you keep the Slave for Pay program going. No other country does that either. They all know that Mahmoud Abbas is running a Murder Incorporated and instilling and inciting terrorism this way. And nobody demands he stops. Nobody says we're not going to give you any more money unless you stop. All the countries are run by Satan. In Israel, it's common knowledge the Muslim Arabs are treated better than the Israelis. They pay less taxes, they got better benefits, their houses are drastically cheaper, everything. They are Satan's favorite people. Okay? America is the seat of Columbia, the whore, Mystery Babylon the Great, in Washington, D.C. She's depicted as the statue on top of the Capitol. She's the Columbia Motion Pictures icon. She's the Statue of Liberty. Washington, D.C. is Washington, District of Columbia. That's where America runs the whole country from. It's not in any of the 50 states. That's that city. But the whole country's going to get it. So, Columbia was using, or the daughter of Babylon, or America, was using the false churches to run things because it was good for them. They had wars, and they just told the church people, hey, you know, it's time to fight for our freedom and our country and all this stuff. And people would go join the army. You know, they still do. They don't know any better. So that's why the beast, who's friendly with Satan, is trying to overthrow, one of the reasons, trying to overthrow the whore. Now, the United States was fundamental in creating Israel in 1948, and that's been a failure according to Satan. And many of his people, the people that were going to the churches, no longer go. They don't believe what the churches teach. And the Messianic congregations, a lot of them that were going to Messianic congregations, in the beginning they were real. Then they became like the churches, and they dropped out too. So, the whore of Babylon, America, has failed. It's not stopping the progression of end times. That's why Biden wants to make sure that Israel doesn't win in Gaza because of Satan. That's why Biden wants to keep helping Hamas. But Hamas is so arrogant and pumped up that they're not submitting to Biden either. So there's trouble now. Believe me. Biden can't continue being the great voice and the hammer of the whole earth as the head of the daughter of Babylon unless he has people like Hamas listen to him. The Houthis not only don't listen to him, they attack his ships. So Lebanon's not listening to him, Iran's not listening to him, the Iraqis don't listen to him. What? Where's, I don't know where in here is, but there's no, I thought I closed it. No, I forgot to close it. So, you know, all the trouble spots in the Middle East are not listening to him. Now Saudi's not listening to him. And if Saudi doesn't listen, the UAE doesn't listen. India doesn't really listen to the United States, but they stay out of their way. India tries to be on nobody's side but their own, and this is an impossible posture that India is trying to maintain. I'm going to shut the door here. India is basically a Hindu state with a lot of Muslims, but it's a Hindu place. They got churchianity in there, but it's really not much of it. And Modi is really, that's the head of India, Modi is really pro-Hindu. He's not pro-churchianity, he's not pro-Muslim, he's not pro-anything. He's pro-Hindu. So, there's, you know, Modi is, I would say, India is on the endangered species list, for sure. Hindus don't war against Israel and the Jews. And that's what Satan's looking for right now. The Hindus are actually friendly towards Jews in Israel. The Buddhists don't go around warring against Israel or the Jews. That's not one of his favored, you know. The Catholics don't. You know, the papacy doesn't have a call for arms to go kill Israel. Come, let's go help Hamas kill Israel, like they might have done 600-700 years ago or something like that. They don't do that. Neither does churchianity do it. Neither do the Messianic congregations. You know, neither does the New Age movement or the meditators or Hare Krishnas or any of these other cultic things. They don't do it either. Okay? So, they're not on his most favored list at all. They're on the disposable endangered species list. He doesn't need them. What does he want them for and need them? He doesn't. They're not doing him any good. He's desperate right now. But God is putting the nations under a delusion, and Satan cannot override it. And Satan cannot keep them together. The nations are all skewered. They're not together. And America is extremely skewered. It's in different directions. It's going all different directions. And a house divided unto itself cannot stand. So we're going to see ruler against ruler there very soon. And that's going to be very, very close to the end of America. And you don't have to worry. You're going to be delivered. You know, I've covered that many times. But America has to go. All these nations are going to go. All the currency in the world, when you arrive at Jeremiah 30:11, which is God is going to destroy all the nations he scattered the Israelites into, and that's also in Jeremiah 46:28, so it's in two places. Okay. all the paper money in the world is going to be zip worthless, and so will the Bitcoin things and all that. The only thing that's going to be worth anything is gold, silver, and gems. Oh, food will be worth something. Clothing, furniture, tools, various things will have value, but, all the paper money is going to be worthless. All the stocks and the bonds are going to be worthless. In war, it's very routine for currencies to become worthless. In the Civil War in America, by the end of the war, the Confederate money was absolutely worth the paper it's printed on. It was worth nothing. In World War II in Italy, towards the end of the war, when the people would go to the store to buy, bread and milk, they were taking wheelbarrows to fill it up with money. And the conquering armies would use their own money in the country. They would create their own currency. Sometimes they used this country's existing currency and put stamps on it to change the value and the different things like that. When I was a kid, I used to collect stamps, coins, and paper money, and I saw all of this fiat money from World War II and the end of the war. So it's extremely common and expected when there's wars, currencies go to zero. They're just not. It's not money anymore. When the government falls, that's it. Nobody wants it. I mean, it's stupid. It's even if you had paper certificates that were the old, what they called partial fiat money, where they would say on the, I don't remember the gold certificates, that's before my time, I'm not that old, but I remember the silver certificates very well. It said redeemed at a federal bank or Federal Reserve Bank for, $1, $1 silver dollar, an ounce of silver. So $50 bill would be 50 ounces of silver, that kind of thing. I used to have that with gold. But even that would become worthless in times of war because there's no place to redeem it. It's not. The only thing that's going to be worth anything is the hard currency, and that's what Israel's going to be using, gold and silver. It's in the Bible. Checks aren't going to work, credit cards aren't going to work. Bitcoin and virtual currency is not going to work. Stocks, bonds, futures, commodities, options, all zero value. Worthless. Real estate, if the country's destroyed or taken over, the invading army can do what they want with the real estate. That goes down too. Generally, usually when it depends who conquers the country. If a vicious gang of people conquered the country, like a Muslim terrorist group or something like that, they would take everything away from everybody. The people would reduce to slavery. Some countries would reduce the people to slavery. The Romans did that. When they conquered nations and the people that were civilians that survived, they took everything they had, left them with rags, and chained them up and made them slaves and sold them for gain. And they were not the only ones to do that. It was pretty common to see that happen. It went on a lot. Not only did you lose everything you had to live as a slave, or you could try running away and hiding from them. Some people, I'm sure, hid in the mountains and the fields. Other people went across borders to other states and got themselves set up over there, I suppose. But generally, war gets pretty ugly. Now, what you've seen in modern day is, antiseptic wars where they try to conduct war with some sort of ethical responsibility, but those days are over, believe me. So now you understand why nobody's turning against these Muslim states, but there's some prophecies that show us something's going to happen. Let me check my notes. Hold on, let me go into the live stream, make sure I don't have to clean any snide comments up. Do the snug steak shaker. Well, I don't think we need that person around. I'm certainly not interested. Oh, we've got a group of them here. They were filling the chat up with their garbage. Okay. Oh, they're traveling in groups. How nice. Do they really think they're hurting my feelings or something? I don't know. Okay, they're gone. I got rid of the garbage. Okay. So. I'll get back into my notes. People don't understand the scripture. I will curse those that curse you and bless those that bless you. God does that. Now, during the 2,000-year punishment of Israel in Hosea 6, verses 1 and 2, he allowed Israel's enemies to have at them. So he wasn't doing it. That time is just about over. We're in the tail end of the year of recompenses now. And that's the payback on the nations. And you got to look at Gaza, and Gaza's a shambles. 80 to 90, probably 90% of the houses and buildings are partially destroyed or totally destroyed. People are living in tents or in the street. The water's gone, the sewage is gone, the electricity is gone. The internet, for the most part, is gone. The cell phone service, for the most part, is gone. The hospitals are gone. It's a joke. And they try to go running around acting like they're winning the war. It's a delusion. So, what the people don't understand, in the Bible, God talks about how he's going to defend Israel and stuff like that. But the people today in Israel don't understand that they broke the Torah, the law, and they got wiped out several times. The Babylonian captivity, 70 AD, the Roman captivity. I'm sorry, 70 AD was Rome. Babylon captivity was before that, with Solomon's temple getting destroyed. They don't understand that God judges the people. He doesn't get rid of all of them. The ones that were obedient to him went to Babylon, and he told them they would live well in Babylon, and they did. And then they used Cyrus. Babylon didn't want to let him come back, like Pharaoh, and God raised up Cyrus to fix it, and then they came back to Israel. So, and with the Roman captivity, that's the 2,000-year one. It's not over yet. I mean, it's just about over. It'll be over with the next great Exodus, I suppose. That would be one. Well, when we see the sign of the Son of Man, that's when it's redemption. So, and that is found in Zechariah 12, verse 10, which 100% has not happened before. It's awaiting fulfillment. So, he punishes this time the bad ones in Israel. He gets rid of them. We see this in the whole chapter of Ezekiel 34. Okay, we see this in Malachi 3, which apparently appears before Zechariah 12. we can briefly look at it. Behold, I will send my messenger, my Malach, and he shall prepare the way before me. That's Elijah. And Adonai, whom you seek, shall suddenly come to his temple. That's the glory of God of Israel. Even, and it switches again and says, even the Malach, the messenger of the covenant, whom you delight in. That's Elijah, because the Israelis believe he's going to come teach them Torah, and he will. And they leave a place setting for him at the Passover Seder. They give him a plate, knife, fork, and they give him a glass of wine, and they even have chairs with his name on it, and they leave the door open for him to come in and go out. Of course, this is all myth and superstition, but that's what they believe. That's why it's called the messenger of the covenant, I believe. Whom you delight in. They're certainly not delighting in Yeshua at this time, right? Behold, he shall come, saith Jehovah. But who may abide the day of his coming? And there you see the getting rid of the bad ones. And who shall stand when he appeareth? For he is like a refiner's fire, and like a fuller's soap, and he shall sit as a refiner and purifier of silver, and he shall purify the sons of Levi, the Levites, and purge them of as gold and silver, that they may offer unto Jehovah an offering in righteousness. So now the offerings are done correctly in righteousness, so now the blessings of the law will fall on Israel. Then shall the offering of Judah and Jerusalem be pleasant unto Jehovah, as in the days of old, as in the former years. And I will come near to you to judgment, and I will be a swift witness against the sorcerers, the adulterers, the false swearers, against those that oppress the hireling in his wages, the widow, the fatherless, the orphan, the fatherless, and that turn aside the stranger from his right, and fear not me, saith the Lord. Well, this is clearly speaking of the bad Israelites, so he's getting rid of them. Jehovah is going to be a swift witness against them. They go. It appears, as I'll show you shortly, they get burned up. Okay? And the people in Israel have no concept of this. They're not taught this. They don't understand. Okay? In Malachi 3:6 it says, for I am Jehovah, I change not, therefore the sons of Yaakov are not consumed. Then we go to Malachi 4, and it reads like this, for behold, the day cometh that shall burn as an oven. That's the same good day as in Zechariah 12, I believe. And all the proud, yea, and all that do wickedness shall be stubble. And the day that cometh shall burn them up, saith Jehovah of armies, that it leave them neither root nor branch. Now, this is not sounding like the two witnesses burning the enemies of Israel that lay siege to them up on the right hand and the left hand. This sounds like the bad ones of Israel. But unto you that fear my name shall the Son of Righteousness arise with healing in his extremities, and you shall go forth and grow up and frolic about like the calves of the stall. This is the appearing of the sign of the Son of Man in the clouds, like lightning from the east to the west, seated at the right hand of power, which is Father God, Jehovah. We get healed and we get this, what's referred to as everlasting life, which is not immortality. You live a long, long time. It says, my people's days will be like that of a tree. A tree could go thousands of years. It says, a child shall die 100. And you shall tread down the wicked, for they shall be ashes under the soles of your feet in the day that I shall do this, saith the Lord. And it says, remember you the law of Moses, my servant, which I commanded unto him in Horeb for all Israel with the statutes and the judgments. Now, the rabbis don't teach them the law, the Torah. They teach them the Talmud. They say Moses gave the written law as a ruse or a curveball to the heathen. But the true law was the oral law, which was passed on to the Jews, and we wrote it down in a book. So they created a second written law, which they say is the real written law, and they don't pay attention to the Torah, they follow the Talmud, which is in great contradiction with the Torah. It's not of God. It says Yeshua is a bastard, a witch, not a prophet, never rose from the dead, and so forth. Okay? Now, that's Satan at work. Try to get the people to not pay attention to the law. And what does the church say about the law that's been done away with? What does Yeshua say? Matthew 5:17 and 18 and 19, verses 18 and 19. He says, think not that I came to destroy the law, but to fulfill it. For as long as there's a heaven and an earth, not one jot or tittle of the law shall be done away with. Well, there's still a heaven and an earth. And the church did away with the law. How can it be the church? You can't. You can't create a religion that contradicts Yeshua and call it a real religion. Only in Hollywood. Behold, I will send you Elijah the prophet, Eliyahu Navi, Ha-Navi, which would mean Elijah the prophet, before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord. Well, we're in the days of Elijah now, but it doesn't tell you how he's going to come first. It says he's going to come first, but people don't understand that. And he, meaning Elijah, shall turn the heart of the fathers to the children, and the heart of the children to the fathers, lest they come and smite the land with a curse. So we see the bad ones of Israel getting it here. And Ezekiel 34 portrays it rather graphically in Zechariah 13 verses 8 and 9 gives us a good look at it. And it shall come to pass that in all the land, and that says Kol Haaretz, the land of Israel, saith Jehovah, 2 parts, 2/3, therein shall be cut off and die, but the third shall be left therein. And I will bring the third part through the fire, and will refine them as silver is refined, and will try them as gold is tried. Sounds just like Malachi, doesn't it? with Elijah there in Malachi 3. They shall call on my name, and I will hear them. I will say, it is my people, and they shall say, Jehovah Elohim. Okay. Go back on my notes. So the people in Israel, Israelites, are being, led astray by their church leaders, calling all the victories on Israel, Jehovah fighting for them, and ignoring the fact that they're going against Jehovah's word and making them think that they're Jehovah's people when they're Satan's. But some of them will make it. A third. The other thing that people are not aware of is the blessings of the law, which requires a temple and a priesthood and stuff like that. The nation of Israel pretty much ignores that. The Talmudic rabbis just perpetually tell them it's not the time for the temple, They tell them there's two messiahs. Mashiach ben David and Mashiach ben Joseph, and they don't know which Messiah is going to come, but he's the one that's going to, build the next temple. So they say, oh, we don't wait, we just wait for him, we don't do it. So that's how they get out from not building the temple. The church basically teaches the people that they're going to be redeemed either in the rapture, which is contradictory to what Yeshua says, because he says in John 6:39, 40, 44, and 54 4 times, he raises everyone up at the last day. Everybody goes up on the same day. There's no left behind rapture according to Yeshua, just the church. And thank you, I'll believe Yeshua. And they call that their redemption. And they take a posture that after 70 AD, Jehovah has replaced Israel with the church. Well, that has to be a blatant, massive disregard of Hosea 6, 1 and 2. So it's a very unscriptural proposition. So the year of recompenses further confuses them, because the Lord is dishing it out pretty heavy on those that are kicking against Israel. Look at Gaza. Okay. The nations that are coming against Israel are getting cursed now. But he's not letting Israel get the land back either, because we're not in redemption yet. That'll happen when we shift into redemption, which is going to be real soon. The nations are unaware of this. So is Israel. I don't see Israel getting completely destroyed or seriously destroyed or busted up. Um, all right. The people that out talking about America's falling down and all that stuff, some of them are, um, you know, aware of the fact that America's going down, but they don't explain, like in Revelation 18, in a day and an hour, it's gone. That's DC. But it happens suddenly in a day, so it's very fast. And God burns it up. He says he will kindle a fire in and around the cities. He'll let the invaders loot and pillage the place as promised. And then he's going to kindle the fire in and around the cities and burn them up. And you'll be out. You'll be on your way to Israel. He's not going to destroy you there. Not if you're a believer or if you're in Israel. It's not going to happen. Okay? So, I know even going back as long as, I started realizing America was the daughter of Babylon around 2013. And some people were really aware of it back as far as 2008. But very few were aware of it before that, if any. So they're not talking about suddenly in a day and an hour. They don't get the scriptures right. They don't understand. They don't talk about the sleeper agents. They don't say America's already been invaded with millions of sleeper agents. They think that this thing with America is just going to keep dragging on for many years. It's not. Right now, there is not a single nation standing up for Israel. Name one. There's not a single one. Biden is just setting Israel up for a trap, trying to suck them into big wars with the neighbors. That's all. Nobody's standing up for Israel. Look at how NATO gives weapons to the Ukraine and America, right? And how many of these nations give any weapons to Israel? Well, the United States, but they're working a deception on Israel. The United States is no friend of Israel. Look at their proposed peace, ceasefire. Leave Hamas in control politically, militaristically. Let them have control of Gaza. They could smuggle weapons into Egypt again and then come back and kill Israel. So come on, man. This is stupid to think that. I'm reading my notes. America brings a peer in to bring humanitarian aid to the Muslims in Gaza trying to kill us. He wants to keep them well fed with medical and everything else while they kill us. That's our friend. God has shortened the time, so it happens in one day. That's his day of vengeance, and all the stuff happens. The nations get it, America gets it, all of that. Now let's talk about birth pangs. When you have birth pangs, they start out mild and long amount of time in between them. So the church is so unaware of what's going to happen. It's sad. The apostles were well aware of the appearing of the Son of Man, giving the people everlasting life. And they talked about that as the great hope. But Satan's church is using bad translations, typically, have beaten that out of the people. The church has even gone around telling the people that the New Testament was written in Greek, which it wasn't. It was written in Hebrew, to show them that God moved away from Israel to the church. He didn't. All of a sudden, Yeshua was a church member, not a Jew, not the high priest in the order of Melchizedek, not the king of Israel. Where did they get this from? It's nonsense. They're nonsense. They can't make their case. Okay. The churches are not aware of the 2,000-year punishment in Hosea 6:1 and 2. You never hear this preached. They don't know about it. They don't have a clue. Yeshua referred to the days after 70 AD as the night when no man worked. Now, what happened was the apostles worked starting at Pentecost when they received the baptism of the Holy Spirit. That was Yeshua getting the gospel spread around the world. And they set up congregations, and the people were afraid of the congregations. They were blessed. They were also persecuted and under pressure. But that stopped because they were told by Yeshua, when they see the armies surrounding Jerusalem, get out of town. So the Romans started with the armies. They left, and they got out before the great siege of Jerusalem, which took several years, and the Romans starved them out of it. Okay, they killed them, burned the temple, took the artifacts, all sorts of stuff. After that, there was no more congregations. They were scattered, and they eventually died off. And the apostles died off, except for Apostle John. And they spread all over the world. And God always had a remnant, a very small amount, that He would reveal Himself in Yeshua and the correct gospel to, but it was always a small amount. Because it says he blinded their eyes and stopped up their ears, speaking of Israel, so they wouldn't turn to Him and be healed, so the 2,000-year punishment would take its full effect, and it has. And the apostles aren't going to be used as apostles anymore, because Yeshua set this one up without the Levites and the Kohanim. Why? Because Yeshua knew the temple would be destroyed. And that was the grace. So you could live under, so to speak, under the law without the Levites doing the law. In other words, He knew there would be no temple, no Levites, no Kohanim, no following the law. And He didn't want the people to be under the curse of the law. So He paid the price, and thus there was the age of grace, as they like to call it themselves. Now, the people were never told that they could commit murder, adultery, fornication, theft, blah, 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 right? And all that's okay. You don't have to worry about that. You're under grace. Now, the churches, some of them probably teach versions of this abstract or otherwise. But, He never said that. Galatians 5:19-21, He reads a list of sins that if the people do it, they're not going to enter the kingdom of God. Okay, which destroys the theology of once saved, always saved. I'll touch on this very quickly. Galatians 5:19-21. Now the works of the flesh are manifest, which are these: adultery, that's a no-no; fornication's a no-no; uncleanness, lasciviousness, idolatry, witchcraft, hatred, variance. That's different doctrinal statements that the churches do. Emulations, wrath, strife, seditions, that's divisions. Those are denominations which the churches do. Heresies, very similar to seditions, except it means more of a sect, S-E-C-T. Envyings, murders, drunkenness, revelings, and such of the like, and such like of the which I tell you before, as I've also told you in time past, that they which do such things shall not inherit the kingdom of God. So he's saying those who do the denominations and the variants, the different doctrinal statements, and the murderers and the adulterers and the fornicators and the drunks and so forth, they're not going to enter the kingdom of God. So once saved, always saved. This is obviously bogus. Okay? And the age of grace obviously is not covering up these sins and letting the people go out and do murder and adultery and fornication and variants and denominations and stuff and still enter the kingdom of God. Okay? So the age of grace does not apply to that. It applies to an inability to do the worship services, the offerings, sacrifices, etc., in the temple with the priesthood, because there would be no priesthood for 2,000 years, no temple. While Israel underwent the 2,000-year double punishment found in Hosea 6:1 and 2. And then we get a double reward, which begins in Zechariah 12:10, redemption, when they look upon the Son of Man in the clouds. And when that happens, according to John 6:40, those that believe, that look upon him, shall have everlasting life. Well, before they see the sign of the Son of Man in Zechariah 12 verse 10, they have God pours his Spirit out on them in Israel and Jerusalem and the house of David. So they become believers when he pours the Spirit out on them, obviously. Then they see the sign of the Son of Man and they have the everlasting life. Okay? And this will apply to the people around the world too, that are believers and in Israel. Because every eye shall see him, and he appears as lightning from the east to the west, seated on the right hand of power, which is his Father. But Psalms 110:1 said, the Lord said to my Lord, sit thou at my right hand until I make your enemies your footstool. So he appears on the right hand of Jehovah because the enemies have not yet been made his footstool. Very shortly after that they will. So all this is foreign to these poor people in the church. And in the world. So the church people are not walking correctly. God didn't choose them to replace Israel. There's no scripture for that. That's the doctrine of demons. One of many doctrines of demons. You know, there's people that go astray in the following way. This is more of like a spiritual warfare talk. They try to communicate with the Lord in different ways that are not biblical. Okay? And they see themselves as, you know, being able to do things that are not found in the scriptures. And they wind up prey of unclean spirits, feeding them wines and telling them what to do and ruining their lives. So you got to watch yourself on that. Just stick to what you see in the Bible. The other thing is the believers that are not native-born Israelites are in Israel through Yeshua HaMashiach, and that's why all Israel gets saved. This business of the church is, you know, nonsense. It's a super Israel, you know, that's going to reign over Israel. It's nuts. So when Israel was punished, and still is, there's no other group of believers that's not punished, because it's all about Israel. Even if you're not Israelite born, when you get into Yeshua, you become part of Israel, the real Israel. So there's no such thing as some religious structure like the church that was raised up during the 2,000-year punishment. The other thing is Constantine started the church, which is 300 or 350 years after Yeshua's rising from the dead. And it was an evil church started by a political military leader, and it led to Catholicism. And, you know, so the whole thing is rather absurd. But billions of people believe it. So Satan's church teaches the people, all of his churches basically are teaching the people just grossly incorrect, that they've got them waiting for Gog and Magog war, you know, with the beast, the mark of the beast and all that, and the whole thing's out of time sequence by many decades, you know. They never teach him Jeremiah 30:11 that he's going to destroy all the nations he scattered the Israelites into. Seems to try to make them think that somehow America is going to bounce back or have a revival or something like that. A lot of these people are, you know, playing the church Yanny game, saying they're Christians and this and that, and they're selling survival foods and prepper supplies. And they're doing this, and the people that are buying it are thinking it's going to help them survive what's coming. It's not. On the day of vengeance, Jehovah's going to burn up these nations. They're not going to get it through war. There might be some war and some of the sword, but it's going to be basically him destroying them. Like, it references Sodom and Gomorrah, and that was done in, you know, like, what did it take, an hour? It's, fire and brimstone. It didn't take long. Maybe less than an hour. You know, he says he's a consuming fire, Jehovah does. Then he burns them up with fire. And how does he equip his two sons, the two witnesses, but with fire coming out of their mouth, which could be lightning. Lightning and fire, or lightning causing fire. We'll have to wait and get to the bottom of that one. Okay, so the church is basically in a delusion here, you know. Not one denomination ever came out and spoke in favor of Israel. There's 3,500 various denominations. Not a single one of them, not one, came out and said we stand with Israel. No country in the world is standing with Israel. None. So the nations are not really at this point turning against any of these Muslim states, but they are turning against Russia. All of NATO is dumping fortunes of money and military equipment into Ukraine. Did they give anything to Israel? No. Is that because they'd like to see Israel destroyed? Well, you tell me, of course. What about Russia? They're trying to get nations to destroy Russia. Well, that's okay. Russia's not on Satan's hit parade list because it's basically Muslim minority country. It's Russian Orthodox Church, stuff like that. So they're allowed to go after Russia. Russia's not Satan's, privileged class of people. Nobody is really doing anything to Yemen of any substance because Satan's giving them a green light. I'm reading my notes. Things are so bad with some of these terrorist-oriented Muslims, like in Gaza. Women will say, I want my son to be a martyr and get killed trying to kill Jews and stuff. They talk like that openly. In spite of all the nations trying to turn against Israel, it's not really working well for them. They don't have any great unity here. So the birth pangs start out mild and they're spaced apart quite a ways, and then as you progress towards the giving birth, the birth pangs get more intense, they hurt more, and they're more close together. And then right at the birth, you're just in a non-stop agony pain. And that's called travail, the actual giving birth. The water broke, cervix is dilated, baby's crowning. And that's where we're at now. We're not exactly in the birth, because that would be the appearance of Yeshua in the clouds, seated at the right hand of power, like coming like lightning from the east to the west. We're not there yet. We're still in the birth pangs, but it's a latter day, so the pangs are going to last longer, and it becomes um, when you read Jeremiah 30, around verse 11, let me go there and show it to you with the birth pangs, because Jeremiah 30 is depicting birth pangs, okay? For verse 5, Jeremiah 30, verse 5, for thus saith Jehovah, we have heard a voice of trembling, of fear, and not of peace. This is where we're at today. Israel is starting to get fearful. Ask you now and see whether a man doth travail with child. Wherefore do I see every man with his hands on his loins as a woman in travail? Because he is giving birth. Jehovah is giving birth to the nation in a day. So he's doing this, so we would know what's going on. And all faces are turned into paleness. Alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. Jacob's trouble is the siege in Zechariah 12. He's saved out of it on the appearing of the Son of Man in the clouds. Zechariah 12:10. For it shall come to pass in that day, saith Jehovah of armies, that I will break his yoke from off thy neck, and will burst thy bonds, and strangers shall no more serve themselves of him. The strangers can't do anything. I mean, they can't run us around like the UN, the ICJ, America, UK, and Iran, all these countries pushing us around, telling us what to do. But they shall serve Jehovah Elohim, and David their king. When it says king, it was probably meaning Yeshua, whom I will raise up unto them. Well, this is probably also more so referencing the anointed prince in the next temple from the line of David, because David shall never lack a man to sit on the throne. Okay. And it talks about the second Exodus and stuff like that. All right. So I'm just trying to give you spiritual insights into some of these things so you could take a summary of where we're at. Okay. So we haven't hit the birth of the nation in a day, but we're headed there pretty fast. Satan tried a couple of years ago to do the Abrahamic Accords, where we would make some sort of treaties with the other nations, and they failed. The Abrahamic Accords failed. Satan cannot override the delusions that the Lord is sending. The Lord's always been in control. Satan just can't do anything about it. He just has to suck it up. His kingdom's being, crazy. And you see division all over the place, and a house divided unto itself shall not stand. That's what the Muslims were thinking happened with Gantz, but no, not really. I'm reading my notes here. See, Satan's got his church people all hung up on the beast, the mark of the beast, the false prophet, Ezekiel 38, 39. He's got them in derision because that's not what's coming. He doesn't, he's got them chasing their tails. Alright, I covered that. I'm trying to delete my notes as I go. So I made a lot of them this morning. So I had a lot of things to show. Alright. Now we're going to go to Isaiah 49, and you're going to see some pretty interesting things here. Okay? Isaiah 49. Let me jump into the chat and see if I'm getting insults and garbage postings again. Let me take a look. Whose occupation are you saying end? Israel should end the occupation? Is that what you're trying to tell us? That means you're against Israel. Yeah, he is. Okay, goodbye. Gaza has lost, they know it, but they won't admit it. Alright, I got rid of the garbage. Okay, Isaiah 49. Listen, O isles, unto me, and hearken, you people from far. Jehovah has called me from the womb, this is Yeshua. From the bowels of my mother hath he made mention of my name, and he hath made my mouth like a sharp sword. Remember when he comes in Revelation 19, out of his mouth is a double-edged sword. That's the word of God. He's the word made flesh. You get it? Like a sharp sword in the shadow of his hand hath he hid me. Yeshua was concealed for many centuries. And made me a polished shaft in his quiver hath he hid me. So Yeshua was concealed all those years, And said unto me, Thou art my servant, O Israel, in whom I will be glorified. Then I said, I have labored in vain, I have spent my strength for naught, and in vain, yet surely my judgment is with Jehovah, and my work with my Elohim. And now, saith Jehovah, that formeth me from the womb, to be his servant, to bring Yaakov again to him. This is Yeshua. Through it, though Israel be not gathered yet, shall be glorious in the eyes of Jehovah Elohim. It doesn't say, and my God, it says Jehovah Elohim. And Jehovah Elohim shall be my strength. And he said, it not by might, not by power, but by my spirit, right? And that's out of Zechariah 4. And he said, it is a like thing that thou shouldst be my servant to raise up the tribes of Yaakov and to restore the preserved of Israel. Now, whoa, what is the preserved of Israel and restore? What kind of words are these? Let's look it up. Restored, 7725, Strong's number. Shu, it doesn't mean restored. It means returned. Let's read it again. And he said, it is a like thing that thou should be my servant to raise up the tribes of Yaakov. And then it says, they have all these words here, and to restore. So it's the tribes of Yaakov return. Tribes of Yaakov return, as in next great Exodus. Now let's check the next word, and you'll see what this really says. The preserved, that's Strong's number 5336. And the preserved means delivered. So tribes of Yaakov return, delivered Israel. Much different meaning, isn't it? I will give, it says, they say, I will also give, and there's one word in Hebrew for that, and it's natan, which is give or put. So it's saying the delivered Israel give thee for a light. It's, let's just say, put or give, and then the word is or light, give light, heathen. So he's saying the delivered of Israel give light, heathen, and then it says that thou mayest be, it's too many words. I would say be, and then it says my salvation, and the word is Yeshua. Be Yeshua, salvation, you could say. See, this is an example of Yeshua being hid in the Old Testament right here. That's Isaiah 49, verse 6, towards the end of the verse. Unto the end of the earth. See, it's funny, like I keep saying, the translators cannot properly translate unless they have good doctrine. And those were the days of the night when no man could work, so they didn't have good doctrine. Days of Elijah had not started then. Thus saith Jehovah, the Redeemer of Israel. So when you read that, think year of redemption and his Holy One to give, which would be Yeshua, I suppose, to him whom man despiseth, to him whom the heathen abhorreth, to a servant of rulers, kings shall see and arise, princes also shall worship, because of Jehovah that is faithful, and the Kodesh, I think it says the Holy One, let's check it, Kadosh, Kodesh is new, Kadosh rather, Kadosh Israel, the Holy One of Israel, and he shall choose thee. Thus saith Jehovah, in an acceptable time. Okay, in an acceptable time. When is that? Come on, guys, I'm teaching you. Isaiah 61. 1. The Spirit of the Lord God is upon me, because Jehovah hath anointed me to preach good tidings unto the meek. He hath sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives, and the opening of the prison to them that are bound, to proclaim the acceptable year of Jehovah and the day of vengeance of our God, to comfort all that mourn. The mourning is from Zechariah 12:10. The acceptable year is like the Yovel or Jubilee, or when every man gets his inheritance back and returned to his family, and that's what happens during the redemption year. And the day of vengeance is associated with the year of recompenses and the day of vengeance. So just to make that point very quickly, Isaiah 34:8. For it is the day of the Lord's vengeance and the year of recompenses for the controversy of Zion. So if the day of vengeance is in the year of recompenses and the year of redemption, there's an overlap. And that overlap is probably one day, the day of vengeance, which is in recompenses and in redemption. Now you know more than all the heads of all the seminaries of the last many centuries. They never got this. You think I figured it out by myself? No, the Lord showed it to me. Isaiah 49:8. You could sit there and read the scriptures for 100 years. You're not necessarily going to get this. In an acceptable time have I heard thee, and in a day of salvation, that's when they see Yeshua in the clouds. And the word for salvation here is actually Yeshua. Okay? So it says, you got to listen to this, because the English is all screwed up. It's the church talking to you in the English. Have I heard thee, and in a day. So it doesn't say and in a day. It says heard, which is not answered. It's answered you. If I answered you, not heard you. It's answered. It's so stupid. He answers the prayers and everything, and I'm calling to him. And then it says day of Yeshua. It says day Yeshua, Yom Yeshua. Okay? What more do you want but Zechariah 12:10, day Yeshua? What do you want? Have I helped thee? Let's see what the word help means. Yeah, it's Azar, it's protect. So he's giving you Zechariah 12:10 here. It says, Yom Yeshua Azar, protect thee. Then it says, and I will preserve thee. Well, the word is one word there. It's Natsar, guard or watch over thee. And then it says, give, which is Natan. Yeah, give or put, give it says give thee for a covenant. No, it doesn't say that. It says Natan Brit. Okay, it says give covenant. Okay, see how they screwed up? Give covenant people. Establish cum. No. That's not. Come on, I keep hitting the wrong button here. Let's get the right word here for this. It really means abide the earth. Give covenant people, abide it's the land, to cause to inherit. It might mean that. Nachal, possess, to inherit, possess, desolate heritage. So he's saying you're going to get the land of Israel as your inheritance. That thou mayest say to the prisoners, go forth to them that are in darkness, show yourselves, they shall feed in the ways, and their pastures shall be in all the high places. These are the dry bones coming out of the pit, okay? And they come to Israel, and it says, show yourselves. Now, Yeshua crucified, 3 days later he rose from the dead. What happened? The graves opened. Many people in Jerusalem came out of the graves, went around, and showed themselves to the people. Okay? But the timing here is not the crucifixion day of Yeshua or 3 days after. This is for our day now, redemption. What's a better day for them to come out of the pit but redemption? I have no idea of a better day. Would pretty much have to be that. And Yeshua preached to them during those 3-day periods when his body was in the tomb. He was explaining to them what's going to happen. Prisoners of hope. They shall not hunger nor thirst, neither shall the heat nor the sun smite them. See, I told you, when we hit redemption, we're not going to have this heat. And now I'll steal a line from Jackie Gleason. How sweet it is for he that hath mercy on them, that's it, he's returned to Jerusalem with mercies. That's Zechariah 1, I think it could be Zechariah 2. Shall lead them even by the springs of water. How sweet that water will be. Shall he guide them. And I will make all my mountains a way, and my highways shall be exalted. Behold, these shall come from far, and lo, these from the north and from the west. Now, let's check these words. From the north, there's 2 words here. Min, which is from, and then it says Safan. It could mean hidden or it could mean north. I think it means north. And from the west, yeah, it means north. And these from the land of Sinim. That's Asia. That's like, where all the trouble is with China and Taiwan and Japan. That's where this is from. So are we going to see lost tribes with slanted eyes and kind of yellowish skin? I would expect it. You got a better explanation for the land of Sinim, and of course you're going to see that. The woman they freed from there was 4 hostages freed the other day. 3 were men, 1 was woman. She was, I believe, half Oriental. I know there's other Orientals in Israel that are believers, half Jewish, half Oriental, but they're lost tribes. It's not the half and half. It's lost tribes. Sing, O heavens, and be joyful, O earth, and break forth into singing, O mountain. See, the tribes would marry amongst their own tribe. Now you understand that better, maybe. Sing, O heavens, and be joyful, O earth, and break forth into singing, O mountains. For Jehovah hath comforted, let's check that word. You could say comforted, console, comfort, yeah, okay. His people, it's people, it just says people, his people. Comforted people, and have mercy on his afflicted, that's us. But Zion, that's Zion, said, Jehovah hath forsaken me, and Adonai forgotten me, Lord forgot me. Can a woman forget her suckling child, that she should not have compassion? Or on the son of her womb, yea, they may forget, yet will I not forget thee. Behold, I have graven thee upon the palms of my hands. Who did they drive nails, big nails through his palms? Thy walls are continually before me. Thy children shall make haste. Thy destroyers and they that made thee waste shall go forth of thee. Lift up thine eyes round about, and behold, all these gather themselves together and come to thee. That's the next great Exodus. As I live, saith Jehovah, thou shalt surely clothe thee with them, as with an ornament, and bind them on thee as a bride doeth. So married to the land, the bride, decorating the land with his jewels, the believers in Israel returning, For thy waste and thy desolate places and the land of thy destruction shall even now be too narrow by reason of the inhabitants, and they that swallowed thee up shall be far away. So the next great exodus is going to be pretty substantial. The children which thou shalt have after thou hast lost the other shall say again in thy ears, the place is too small for me, give place to me that I may dwell. Then shalt thou say in thy heart, who hath begotten me? These, seeing I have lost my children, and am desolate, a captive, and removing and fro, to and fro, and who hath brought up these? Behold, I was left alone. These, where had they been? Where were they? I was by myself, where were they? Thus saith, it could be those in the pit, the dry bones, it could be people coming from the Exodus, both. Thus saith Adonai Jehovah, behold, I will lift up my hand to the heathen, and set up my standard to the people. And they shall bring, the standard, I believe, is the appearing of the sign of the Son of Man in the clouds, and every eye shall see him. But only those that believe are going to have the everlasting life. And Israel, gives it to Israel, to the people, and they shall be, the people, it's evidenced in Jeremiah 31:31, they shall all know me from the least to the greatest. I give them a heart of flesh, put my law in their inward parts. It's like, to the people, so maybe he pours his flesh out on them, or maybe he just forgives them of their sins. I don't know exactly how he does it. It's going to be pretty miraculous, but he'll do it. I guess when they see Yeshua, they believe who he is, because God makes it that way, and then they're believers and they see him in 1 second or whatever it is, and that's all it takes. And they shall bring thy sons in their arms, and thy daughters shall be carried upon their shoulders. So they're going to bring them as like an offering to the Lord. And kings shall be thy nursing fathers, and their queens thy nursing mothers. I don't think that's literal. They shall bow down to thee with their face towards the earth, and lick up the dust of thy feet. That could be literal. And thou probably is, I would say literal. And thou shalt know that I am Jehovah, for they shall not be ashamed that wait for me. And we're waiting for him now. Those that wait on me will not be disappointed. Oh, you better believe you won't be disappointed. You'll be exhilarated. Shall the prey be taken from the mighty, or the lawful captive delivered? But thus saith Jehovah, even the captives of the mighty shall be taken away. It's obvious, right? And the prey of the terrible shall be delivered. For I will contend with him that contendeth with thee, and I will save thy children. And I will feed them that oppress thee with their own flesh. That's a curse under the law. So now Elijah has already trained the Levites into doing the law correctly. So the blessings of the law are on Israel, and the curses of the law are on their enemies, and this is a curse. And I will feed them that oppress thee with their own flesh, and they shall be drunken with their own blood, and as with sweet wine, and all flesh shall know that it says, Ani Yehovah, that I am Jehovah. And then it says, Ani Yehovah Yasha, your Savior. It's the root of Yeshua. And thy Redeemer, and that would, of course, Gaal is redeemers, and that should bring us to thinking of the year of redemption, the mighty one of Yaakov. Now we'll do Jeremiah 49. We just did Isaiah 49. We'll do Jeremiah 49. I'll jump into the chat and see if I got to throw the garbage out. Let's see. It's pretty sedate there. I got rid of the garbage. Okay. Jeremiah 49:1. Concerning the Ammonites, that's northern Jordan, which is the capital Ammon. Thus saith Jehovah, hath Israel no sons? Hath he no heir? Why then doth their king inherit Gad? That's a place in Israel. And his people dwell in his cities. Therefore, behold, the days come, saith Jehovah, that I will cause an alarm of war to be heard in Rabbah. Now, Rabbah, it's Rabbah, not Rabbah. That's among Jordan, really, in that area. We heard in Rabbah of the Ammonites, and it shall be a desolate heap, and the daughters shall be burned with fire. Then shall Israel be heir unto them that were his heirs, saith Jehovah. Howl, O Heshbon. Heshbon means accountant or a receipt or a bill in Israel. This is back in Jordan. Wait a minute, I think this is Jordan. Hold on. East of the Jordan, yeah, it's Jordan. Howl, O Heshbon. Jordan's not doing too good here, okay? And then it says AI. Now that's not artificial intelligence, AI here in the Bible. It's near Jericho, near Bethel, or Bethel in English. It's in Jordan, a little bit in Jordan, I'd say. AI, so again, it's Jordan, is spoiled. Cry, you daughters of Rabbah, gird you with sackcloth, lament and run to and fro by the hedge, for their king shall go into captivity, and his priests and his princes together. So the king of Jordan is going to hit the road, split. Wherefore glorious thou in the valley of thy the valleys of thy flowing valley, O backsliding daughter that trusted in her treasures, saying, who shall come unto me? Behold, I will bring a fear upon thee, saith Adonai Jehovah of hosts, from all those that be about thee, and you shall be driven out, every man right forth, and none shall gather up him that wandereth. I don't think he's speaking of Israel right now. And afterward I will bring again the captivity of the children of Ammon, saith Jehovah. Concerning Edom, now I think Edom is in northwest Saudi Arabia, right up near Israel. Concerning Edom, thus saith Jehovah of armies, is wisdom no more in Teman. Now Teman is a word that means south, but the Israelis interpret it to mean Yemen, okay? Which is also referred to as Sheba, I believe. Is counsel perished from the prudent? Is their wisdom vanished? So is that fitting for Yemen today? Absolutely. They're going against the whole world, you know. Flee you, turn back, dwelleth deep, O inhabitants of Dedan. That would be Saudi Arabia. For I will bring the calamity of Esau upon him, the time that I will visit him. So Saudi Arabia is getting the doom and gloom here. Wait. If grape gatherers come to thee, would they not leave some gleaning grapes? If thieves by night, they will destroy till they have enough. But I have made Esau bare, I have uncovered his secret places. And he shall not be able to hide himself. His seed is spoiled, and his brethren and his neighbors, and he is not. Leave thy fatherless children, I will preserve them alive. And let thy widows trust in me. For thus saith Jehovah, behold, they whose judgment was not to drink of the cup have assuredly drunken, and art thou he that shall altogether go unpunished? Thou shalt not go unpunished, but thou shalt surely drink of it. That's the cup of the wrath of the Lord. For I have sworn by myself, speaking of Jordan, I believe, and Edom, and also, I guess Yemen, and, I have sworn by myself, saith Jehovah, that Bozrah shall become a desolation, a reproach. And Bozrah is Jordan, I think. Edom, it's in Edom, which would be, or Moab, it's Jordan, shall become a desolation, a reproach, a waste, and a curse, and all the cities thereof shall be perpetual waste. God really devastates this place. I have heard a rumor from Jehovah, and an ambassador is sent unto the heathen, saying, Gather you together and come against her, and rise up to the battle. It's, I believe, against Jordan or Edom. For lo, I will make thee small among the heathen, and despised among men. Thy terribleness has deceived thee, and the pride of thy heart, O thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock, that holdest the height of the hill. Though thou shouldst make thy nest as high as the eagle, I will bring thee down from thence, saith Jehovah. Also Edom shall be a desolation. Every one that goeth by it shall be astonished, and shall hiss at all the plagues thereof. As in the overthrow of Sodom and Gomorrah, and that's fire and brimstone burned up, right? And the neighbor cities thereof, saith Jehovah, no man shall abide there, neither shall the Son of Man dwell in it. Same thing happens to America. Behold, he shall come up, well, it might not be the brimstone, but it's the fire. He shall come up like a lion from the swelling of the Jordan against the habitation of the strong, but I will suddenly make him run away from her. And who is a chosen man, that I may appoint over her? Who is like me, and who will appoint me the time? And who is that shepherd that will stand before me? That he's speaking either of Elijah or Apostle John or Yeshua. Therefore hear the counsel of Jehovah, that he hath taken against Edom, and his purpose that he hath purposed against the inhabitants of Teman. So I think we're talking about Saudi Arabia and Yemen. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. He shall make their habitations desolate. That's bad. The earth is moved at the noise of their fall, at the cry of the noise thereof was heard. In the Red Sea, heard in the Red Sea. So that's your Yemen, Saudi Arabia. Behold, he shall come up and fly as the eagle, and spread his wings over Bozrah, and at that day shall the heart of the mighty men of Edom be as the heart of a woman in her pangs. They'll be really scared. Concerning Damascus, Syria, Hamath is confounded, and Arpad, for they have heard evil tidings, they are faint-hearted, there is sorrow on the sea, it cannot be quiet. Damascus is waxed feeble, and turneth herself to flee, and fear hath seized on her, anguish and sorrows have taken her as a woman in travail. How is the city of praise not left, the city of my joy? Therefore her young men shall fall in her streets, and all the men of war shall be cut off in that day, day of vengeance, saith Jehovah of hosts. And I will kindle a fire in the wall of Damascus, and it shall consume the palaces and Ben-Hadad. Well, that's how Damascus becomes a ruinous heap, I expect. Concerning Kedar, and concerning the kingdom of Hazor, which Nebuchadrezzar, king of Babylon, shall smite. Now, I think this is talking about the President of the United States, because in Jeremiah 50:51, it says this Nebuchadrezzar. So I'm getting the idea concerning Kedar. Okay, where's Kedar? Ishmael, Hazor, Hazor's in Israel. Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, shall smite. Thus saith Jehovah, arise, you go up to Kedar, and spoil the men of the east. So now Kedar wouldn't be in Israel, it would be more like Jordan. Their tents and their flocks shall they take away, they shall take to themselves their curtains and all their vessels and their camels, and they shall cry unto them, fear is on every side. Flee, get you far out, dwell deep, all you inhabitants of Hazor, saith Jehovah, for Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babel, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babel, hath taken counsel against you and hath conceived purpose against you. Arise, get you up unto the wealthy nation that dwelleth without care. That's the daughter of Babylon, I think, or it could be Saudi. Saith Jehovah, which have neither gates nor bars, which dwell alone. And their camels shall be booty, the multitude of their cattle a spoil. And I will scatter into all winds them that are in the utmost corner, and I will bring their calamity I will scatter into all winds them that are in the utmost corners, and I will bring their calamity from all sides thereof, saith Jehovah. And Hazor shall be a dwelling for dragons, and a desolations forever. There shall no man abide there, nor any son of man dwell in it. That would be, I guess, again, Jordan. The word of Jehovah that came to Jeremiah the prophet against Elam, that's Iran. I believe it's Iran. Hold on. Let me check this. Maybe it's not. I'm going to come back in a second. I'll take a quick break and we'll get into this. I'm thinking of Elam, it could be Iran, but let me take a fast break here. Oh, I'm sorry, you blocked me in. Sorry. Hey, Chief, I'll step over you. Don't worry, you can block me. All hail to the Chief who likes roast beef. All right. Let's get to the bottom of Elam. It's Iran. I had it right. Okay. Southern Iran, more specifically, but Iran. Iran's Iran, right? Right. Oh, it is. I mean, really, it is. Okay. Now I gotta find my verse. What verse was it? Okay, I think we were in 34. Yes. Jeremiah 49:34. The word of Jehovah that came to Jeremiah the prophet, the Navi. Does it say that? Yes, Navi is prophet. Navim is prophets, plural, prophets. Against Elam in the beginning of the reign of Zedekiah, king of Judah, saying, Thus saith Jehovah of armies, Behold, I will break the bow of Elam, the chief of their might. And upon Elam will I bring the four winds from the four quarters of heaven, and will scatter them toward all those winds, and there shall be no nation whither the outcasts of Elam shall not come. So that would have been a dispersing to all nations of Iran. Now, I have to see if this really happened. For I will cause Elam to be dismayed before their enemies and before them that seek their life, and I will bring evil upon them, even my fierce anger, saith Jehovah, and I will send the sword after them, till I have consumed them, and I will set my throne in Elam. I think what he's saying here is the Gloria Guard of Israel has a throne. And I think the Gloria Guard of Israel is going to go to Elam, Iran, and will destroy, and I don't believe that would have happened in the past, and will destroy from thence the king and the prince, saith Jehovah. The king and the prince could be like the mullah that runs the country plus the president, something like that. But it shall come to pass in the latter days that I will bring again the captivity of Elam. I think that's later on down the road. Bring again the captivity means reverse it. So I think Elam gets it. And I think we might see the United States turn against Saudi Arabia, because it says Nebuchadnezzar, and I think it's referencing the president of the United States and the daughter of Babylon, this Nebuchadnezzar, and I think Saudi Arabia is turning against Biden. It's very likely that that jerk Biden and all the jerks with him, Blinken and Sullivan and Austin and the rest of those jerks, may start getting aggressive now, which will bring on the sleeper agents to take them out. But they'll certainly be getting very aggressive with Russia using Ukraine as a satellite state to do it. But this could progress with taking rockets from Hezbollah right now, which could progress to deeper things like Taman, Yemen, Saudi Arabia, Edom. The Houthis may get friendly with Saudi Arabia and decide they want to go through Saudi Arabia to get near Israel, attack Israel, which would place them in Edom, and then they get wiped out over there. Looks like it's coming to pass. So a lot of stuff is going to happen in that day, let me tell you. And that's when the world's going to know He is Jehovah, because they're going to be in shock and awe. That so much happened in that day. All right. So I gave you a decent, I think I gave you a decent spiritual overview of what's really going on. All right. So I'm Moshe. Please pray for me and my wife. Pray for our peace, safety, protection, joy. Pray for that we don't have to go to bomb shelters. Pray for our finances, and pray for our animals and pets that are all rescues. They'd be happy, healthy, and whole. And pray for better videos. And I hope you got something out of this. And you could ask me questions. My email address is in the description box at the very bottom. It's in the chat. And I've got offering information at the top of the chat and in the description box. PayPal's the best for me. We can also take Amazon gift cards if that's easier for you. Just you send them to my email address, israelgiving7@gmail. It's simple. People do it. It's fine. We're always buying stuff from Amazon. So a lot of the stuff in Israel is junk, so we don't want to use it. They buy the cheapest garbage from China or Turkey or Bulgaria or some other place. And, what else? That's about it. So things are getting closer and closer and hotter and heavier, and if Lebanon keeps pouring it on, it's a possibility Lebanon poured the heavy missiles on because of we did a targeted killing of one of their key people, and they could have considered that, okay, that's over, we got our revenge, and they toned it back down, and then Israel may not do a ground invasion. But if they keep this up, there's going to be a ground invasion. And that's what's going on. So I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach, and this went not quite 3 hours, 2.5 roughly, I guess. And I'm out, guys. Thank you.